Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 188. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host for this evening, and you can tell how excited I am about the show because you saw me instead of the title card, and it should be start with the title card and then me and then Michael's music but I can't contain myself. I don't even know what to say. So let's introduce everybody and get started. With me this week, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the show. Just a quick note, Ontario has implemented a $8.3 billion climate change plan. It's all very exciting, or we're all going to be bankrupt real quick. We're not quite sure, but we'll see.
How do I get a piece of that, Mark? No, I mean serious. Let's stop the show. I want some of that.
Yeah,
I want some of that.
It's only $8.3 billion. Like, come on, it's pocket change.
Yeah, good point. I blew through that last month. It's not going to do me much good. Well, speaking of not doing me much good, my good friend, our longest-running panelist, he's the most reflective man in North America, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Oh, hey everybody. So tonight I have a Leinenkugel's Snowdrift Vanilla Porter.
Is it Christmas?
This is, I'll tell you what, this is right now my favorite bottle of beer. Because after the season, it was marked off 50%.
That's all it takes.
It's all it takes.
Like a true man with an issue. Thank you, Tony.
Yes.
Thank you. And the reason I'm so flustered and excited, and the reason we're all happy to be here, we have with us a very special guest this week. The entire show is going to be centered around him. Let's make him feel welcome. No, Mr. Ben Rich. Mr. Ben Rich is an electric motorcycle enthusiast, an EV driver. He drives a Volt. He drives a Zero motorcycle. In 2013, he was the second human being to ride across country on an electric bike. In 2015, he did a 3-country North American tour on an electric motorcycle. Yes, folks, that's Canada, United States, and Mexico. 3 countries.
Get in while you can. You don't have to drive around the wall.
And beginning on the 16th of June, a mere 8 days away, he is going on another around the country tour this time, around the U.S., and you can follow him at facebook.com/BenRidesElectric or Ben Swing on Twitter, at Ben Swing, or Ben Swing on Instagram. Let's let him talk for a second. Mr. Ben Rich, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I can't think of any place I would... I'm such a motorcycle geek. I've been a motorcycle guy all my life, so it's nice to have. Normally, like I talk about two-wheelers, and everybody's eyes glaze over. They kind of stare at the ceiling. So it's nice to have someone who's an enthusiast like myself. I'm
going to have some juicy information for you, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Juicy information?
Indeed.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that was good. Well, let's start out. Let me give you a few minutes just to tell us a little bit. I just ran over a couple of your accomplishments, but what you've done, who you are, why you're here.
Yeah, so I have been riding an electric motorcycle since 2008. At that time, that was before the Nissan Leaf came out, even. So the motorcycle that existed at that time was called a Vectrix, and it was basically a maxi scooter.
Right.
Had 40 miles of range on a good day with a nickel metal hydride battery. So if you didn't run it all the way down, then eventually you'd end up with 20 miles of range, like I did at one point. But it was good. It got me on the highways. It got me going. And I got to be all electric, and it got me off of gas. And my main reasons for getting off of gas are, one of them is because we funnel money hand over fist to countries that pretty much hate us, like the Middle East, Venezuela, Russia, and so I think that's a bad idea. And I like the idea of my money staying in the U.S., buying electricity here. Even if it's from coal, it's going to U.S. companies, but preferably, obviously, I'd like it to go from solar and wind. But also environmental benefits. Less kids with asthma. That's a good thing.
That's a very good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then and since Zero came out with their 2012 Zero app that goes over 100 miles on one charge, I've been able to take road trips. And in 2013, I went cross country, like you said. We made a movie about that called Kick Gas, and you can find information about that on my Facebook page. But I've just been taking a summer ride every year because I'm a teacher. I teach science, and I go around the country each year and take a long-distance trip just to let people know that electric motorcycles are awesome and they are improving every single year. So this year's trip is going to be farther and hopefully easier than previous year's trips.
Easier?
Yeah, hopefully.
Dude, that's a hard trip in a car, okay? That is a difficult trip in a car. I've done something similar, and on a motorcycle, it's another level of difficult. In an electric bike, I got to imagine the planning is extensive.
There's a solid amount of planning. Yeah, absolutely. The last month or so, every once in a while, I'll spend some time on PlugShare. That's the main place where I get my my information for where to find charging stations. And then also, in the middle of the country, there are a few spots where there are not a lot of chargers. So I'll go to an app called RVParky.com. And that's where I find RV parks, and they tell you whether or not the park has 50 amp outlets, and I can totally get enough juice from 50 amp outlets.
Nice.
And
yeah, I've watched some of the video from that trip that you posted. You posted actually quite a bit of that trip, and I noticed that you were very inventive in getting chargers in certain areas because plans would go awry. There'd be doors that were locked, or a Nissan dealer that wasn't friendly or whatever, and you've been able to get around that in a number of different ways. And I certainly would say, if you have some interest, go back and visit some of those YouTubes because very interesting to watch you travel across the country and find inventive ways to charge.
Yeah, charging is not currently easy. Like, it's interesting with addiction. It's mutually agreed upon that random strangers will pull into a gas station and get gasoline, but there is no such mutual agreement at all charging stations. Some charging stations are totally public, and that's awesome. Some are at a restaurant where you need to buy the food in order to use the charger. Some are on private property that sometimes is locked. Some are on private property that's not locked, but should you use it then? There's so much gray area right now. There's a lot of gray area. So I can totally give you some stories about that. But the YouTube stories you're talking about are from last year's trip, the 3-country tour. I made a YouTube video every single day that I traveled. And so there are now 23 YouTube videos about every single day when I was traveling, and a lot of them focus on the different charging dilemma or the ease of use of the charging, because sometimes it is easy, but a lot of times it's challenging, and it's handy being on a motorcycle because it's easier to get around gates in order I mean, I'm not one to promote breaking and entering,
but it's easy to get around gates, wink wink.
When you have no charge left and there are no other chargers nearby, you have to charge somehow. So there's one distinct memory where I remember thinking, like, I hope the police don't come, but they might, and I'm going to tell them my story, and we're going to see what happens. But everything worked out fine. I've never had to deal with the police, but I have gone to a couple of Nissan dealerships on Sundays when they're closed, and it hasn't been always clear as to whether or not that is okay.
Right. My attorney just called and said, we do not endorse that in any way, shape, or form.
No, I didn't endorse it either. And
however much we're entertained by it and think it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes it more of an adventure, like you were saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the idea that, here you're on this bike going around the gate at a Nissan dealer on a Sunday going, come on, it's okay, right? I mean, it's a few electrons between friends.
Yeah.
Well, some of the others you just mentioned, one of them, so there's been some national parks where they don't have a procedure for whether or not you can charge, so generally they err on the side of saying no, but if you show up and no one's in the office, then you get to charge.
So are you talking about like a 50 amp hookup or something, or just a standard 20 amp?
50 amp hookup.
Right, right. I guess, so we're talking about all this charging. Can you lay out like what a typical day, mileage-wise and charging time-wise, is for you on these trips?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past few years, I've been using two Elcon 2.5 kilowatt chargers from Hollywood Electrics. So two 2.5 kilowatt chargers adds up to 5 kilowatts. And then I have an onboard charger that's 1.3. So I have a total of 6.3 kilowatts of charging. And that charges me up in about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes if I'm really completely, have 0% battery left. So I ride and charge about 50% of the time. 50% of the time I'm riding, and last year a little more than 50% of the time was charging, but this year I'll be riding like 60 to 65% of the time and charging only 35 to 40% of the time. So now like the charging to riding needle is kind of going in the beneficial area where I'll be riding more than I'm charging. But generally I've been traveling an average of 310 miles per day, and my longest day was 475 miles from Cleveland to my home near New York City.
Wow,
that's
And
hard.
basically I wake up I wake up before 7 a.m. and I leave at 7 a.m. so I can arrive at my destination at like 9 o'clock at night. And that's only a 300-mile drive, which for most people would take like 5 hours or so.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe 6 hours, but basically it just takes me twice as much time to travel those distances. So I just have to be very regimented. So I'll wake up, I'll leave at 7 a.m., and then I arrive at my first charger around 9:15 or 9:30, and then I'll charge until about 11, and then I ride again until about 12:30, and ideally I plan to charge up at a restaurant or some place that's near a restaurant so I can eat during that charging stop. And then throughout the rest of the day, depending on how far I need to go, and also depending on how far the chargers are apart. Sometimes chargers are apart the perfect distance, and I can ride like 100 miles on the highway and stop, and I will have used all my charge. But a lot of times they're just far enough where I have to keep stopping every like 60 or 70 miles because they're just too far apart. Like 140 miles, I can't make that on one charge. Even if I can if I go slowly, but that's like a 4-hour ride, so that doesn't make sense timing-wise. So yeah, so for the rest of the day, I'll ride for an hour to an hour and a half, and then I'll charge for about an hour and a half. So this year I'll be riding for an hour and a half and charging for about 40 minutes.
And what are the new variables that are making that possible?
Yeah, so the new charger that I'll be using this year is brand new, made by a company called DigiNow, and really it's made by a guy who is connected with eMotoWorks. Are you familiar with them? They make the juice box.
Yeah.
There it is.
Box,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I met him. Paul? No.
There's the guy Valery Mifkatov.
Maybe that is. I think I met him a few years ago.
But there may be some other people involved in that company.
Yeah.
The guy I know of is Valery. But anyway, he has worked with Brandon Nozaki Miller, who's known as the Electric Cowboy. And so if you're an electric motorcyclist, you know Brandon.
Sure.
And he was like one of the first people to break some land speed records. He's a little crazy. He is a little crazy. But
Brandon tried to sell me his bike 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So,
I said, no, I'm scared of you.
yeah, exactly. So he made this charger along with Electromotorworks, and now it can charge up to 10 kilowatts. So instead of 6.3, I'll be able to charge at 10, and that makes a lot of difference right there.
Wow.
So yeah.
So the bottleneck is really charging speed, not so much capacity. I mean, obviously capacity limits what you can do,
Yeah.
but it's the amount of time it takes you to charge those batteries that are on board.
Exactly, and that's a really good point because a lot of people are waiting for like a 500-mile battery, right? And it's like,
Right.
no, you're not going to get that. and that's not what you want anyway, because yes, we do want bigger batteries, sure, that's good, but if we can have faster charging, the current batteries get us far enough to go between chargers, and if it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to charge, which we're not there yet, but we're getting there, then long distance road trips becomes much more similar to gas bike road trips. So the batteries will continue to improve. Zero has done an amazing job with their batteries. Every single year, their batteries have improved by gaining about 10 to 20% of capacity. So that's just a really solid rate of improvement. So they do a great job with that. And then the charging has improved a lot. But it's interesting because the charging has improved because companies like Hollywood Electrics and now DigiNow is jumping in there with their supercharger. And that has actually pushed Zero to start focusing more on faster charging. And now Zero offers a charge tank, which is 2.5 kilowatts, just like these ones that are available from Hollywood Electrics. But the Zero charge tank is incorporated into the bike.
Right.
So you don't have to carry it on the back somewhere. It just actually sits.
This goes in there's a hole in where the traditional gas tank would sit.
Yeah.
Right? And it goes in that charge tank fills that spot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So
I'm not a motorcycle guy, and I'm trying to keep up. And
shame on you.
I know. And then you threw in the charge tank thing.
Yeah.
How is so? I'm trying to keep up. I understand, of course, the batteries, and then the charge tank. I'm thinking, well, okay, so what the hell is the charge tank?
That's a good question. So Zero Motorcycles gives 3 options when you buy a motorcycle. One, you can have nothing in the tank area, and they actually give you a bag that sits in there, and you can fit a gallon of milk in where the gas tank normally is on a motorcycle. So that's pretty cool. So you have plenty of battery to do most things for most people, and then you can bring a gallon of milk wherever you want to go.
Because you don't want to leave home without a gallon of milk.
Yeah, exactly. So then they also offer a charge tank, the one that I was just talking about, and that increases your charging rate from only 1.3 kilowatts to 3.8 kilowatts. So now, instead of charging for 8 to 10 hours, you can charge up in like 3 hours. Okay. So that's the charge tank, and it fits in that same area where on a normal gas bike you would have the gasoline tank. And the third option is a power tank, which literally is a battery. And they put an extra battery right where your gas tank normally is, and that gives you more range, but you still charge up slowly.
Okay.
Does that help?
Right. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
I was peppering Ben with questions because I'm trying to figure out which Zero I want, which one's going to be the right one for me, and a lot of just kind of getting over that terminology. We're used to saying I want the car with the V4 or the V6 or whatever. Those things are easy, but is it charge tank, or do you want battery capacity, or do you want the higher torque motor?
Yeah,
I don't know if I think you actually have to order a different model to get that.
Yeah, the lineup of Zero has the normal motor, like the Zero S and the Zero DS, and then they have the SR, the DSR, and whenever they add the R on there, that just stands for racing. So that means you've got a bigger controller that can pump electricity faster out of the battery into the motor, and that's what gives you more torque. And then you've got the FX and the FXS, which are more like the FX is a dirt bike, and it's much lighter weight, and that one is super fun. On test rides, everyone who test rides it accidentally does a wheelie on the FX.
Accidentally.
And then they turn the throttle like fully. They're just like, this will be great, and then the front wheel comes right off the ground. And when I did it, I knew this was coming. And I was on the FX, and I was being gentle with it, and then after a while, you're just like, enough of that, let's go. So I turned the throttle, and up comes the front wheel, and I was like, I can't believe I just did that. Now, The other 7 wheelies that I did were completely on purpose. But the first one was by accident.
Right. Yeah, I didn't mean it the first time. After that, yeah, I was just having fun. Come on.
Exactly. But like the terminology thing that you bring up, that's a really good point. And like I am part of the New Jersey Electric Auto Association, and we go to car shows and Cars and Croissants and Cars and Coffee and like wherever. We hang out in parking lots a lot, basically is what we do. And you guys may do this, and I know a lot of people in the EV industry do, but basically I always have a sign that I put on my bike that has some of the terminology so people can read it in addition to hearing what I say, because it takes a little time to digest this stuff. And so this is my old sign that shows like all the states that I've been to so far in blue. This is what my bike used to look like. It's now been painted and has lightning bolts on it. And then this just has like the first 5 questions that people ask. How far? How fast does it charge? Things like that.
I'm going to pull some pictures up of your bike if you don't mind, Ben. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do. I just had it painted by S&M Airbrushing in northern New Jersey. And I gave this guy very few instructions, and I just said, put a bunch of lightning on it. And then he did it, and he just absolutely nailed it. And so the bike looks really good. There we go. You can see some more lightning on the bottom, and then on the top of the tank, there he actually really wanted to put an atom on it, because I teach physics and environmental science at a private high school up here, and so he was excited about the science teacher and an atom on there. And so I said, well, listen, if you're going to put an atom on there, make sure that it's a lithium atom and it has 3 electrons, right? So my atom there has 3 electrons. And here's the funny thing. Lithium, I figured that it had 3 protons and 3 neutrons in the nucleus. The most abundant isotope of lithium has 3 protons and 4 neutrons. And I didn't tell him that, but he put that in the picture. And if you look carefully, there are 7 little circles in the nucleus representing 4 neutrons and 3 protons. And the artist totally got it right, and I would have gotten it wrong if I had told him what to do.
Wow.
That's great.
Tell me that wasn't coincidence. He looked that up somewhere, right?
I don't think so. I think it's just coincidence.
Yeah.
And then if you can show the front fender.
How's that?
This is the part. This is really the part that I'm proud of. I really wanted Tesla. Actually, what I wanted was Tesla on one side of the tank and Edison on the other, and I was going to have them shoot lightning at each other.
Yeah. There it is.
Representing the current wars. But that cost more money. So I ended up with Tesla in the front fender, and he just did a bang-up job. I really am impressed with how detailed that image is, because it's just airbrushing. I mean, he just nailed it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Quintessential
Basically,
Tesla.
if you look at the whole bike now, Tesla's at the front, and then all the lightning is like going back from there, from Tesla.
I like your custom plate as well. That's a cool custom plate.
Uh-oh. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
How's that?
Someone
No
else
CO2.
got no
Nice.
gas, so I had to get no CO2.
Now we've outed you on the internet with that, but you've seen that. Oh, look at that. There you go.
People behind you are like, I wonder what NOCO 2 is.
Yeah.
NOCO 1.
Noco, too. What's that? So, wow. So I'm going to go back to the trip thing, because I just want to be really clear. So basically, you ride about 300 miles a day. Your bike gets anywhere, I'm going to guess, between 100 and 140 miles on a charge?
So I've done 130 maximum on Skyline Drive going 35 miles an hour.
Oh, what a great drive.
It was amazing.
Wonderful. That is a great road.
It took 4 hours, but it was amazing.
But on an electric bike, I did it in a Prius, which is quiet, but you were even quieter. I mean, you must have had all kinds of wildlife.
Yeah. Well, that is one of the best things about being on an electric motorcycle, is that the wildlife, you see their faces, not their butts.
Right.
So when I ride by a deer, I don't spook them. So one, it's safer because there's less chance of it darting across the road because it doesn't hear this loud sound. And two, sometimes they don't even look up from eating grass. They're just sitting there eating grass, but I get to see their face as I ride by. And anytime I'm in a car or something like that, all you see is their tail. But riding on an electric motorcycle, you see their face and squirrels or whatever. It's just awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think all of us who have, whether it's a plug-in or or a hybrid or anything that can propel under battery, know exactly what you're talking about. The number of times I've just rolled down all the windows in my car, which I have a Prius, and just rolled through the neighborhood and just listened to the frogs and the babbling brooks and on my drive. And yeah, you're right. I see deer occasionally on my drive to and from work, and yeah, I mean, they don't even bother looking up. The tail doesn't go up. You don't spook them at all. It's a truly almost Zen-like experience that you just feel like you're part of nature at that point.
Yeah.
Well, and this is something that Ben's going to relate to very directly. And if you've driven a motorcycle, you are so much more connected to your environment that's around you. You dip into a valley, it gets cold. You go up higher, maybe you're up in the mountains, you feel microclimate temperature differences directly because there's nothing in between you and what you're passing through. If the bike isn't really loud, you get to hear things too, which is the magic of an electric bike. You're not the loudest thing in the environment. You can actually hear things. You're not, you're not creating a disturbance, I guess, is what I would say. So you're kind of passing through. I can't even imagine being able to drive like on Skyline Drive on an electric bike. It's got to be amazing.
No, it's phenomenal, and you're right. I mean, even on any motorcycle, you are more connected to your environment. You do feel the humidity, the heat, the cold, the whatever is happening around you. You feel that, you smell it, but now with an electric motorcycle, you hear it. So that's the added sense that you gain by riding electric, and it's phenomenal. I just rode through the Catskills this past weekend, and I took this hour-and-a-half long loop. And on the shady side of the mountains, it was cooler, and on the sunny side of the mountains, it was warmer. And but it was just absolutely stunning, and you could hear the water flowing, and you're very much connected. And I love to hike, and this is you almost get the same sensation as hiking. I mean, hiking you're moving more slowly, so you can absorb it more, and you have more time to absorb your surroundings. But on a bike, it is so close. So you don't feel like you have to get off and walk around in order to really experience where you are. You are already experiencing it by just being on the bike.
Yeah, removing that layer of protection or insulation that a motor vehicle, most motor vehicles bring, a car or a truck or whatever brings, does connect you more to your surroundings. When there's like something falling off the truck in front of you, that ding in the front of your car annoys you. When it hits you in the forehead,
different story.
You get, all of a sudden you're a lot more concerned about what might be popping off the back of your pickup truck. I mean, there's just, I guess I'm going to get a little preachy, but I mean, I do think that when you ride a motorcycle, when you ride a two-wheeler, you're a little more connected to what's going on around you, and you're a little more cognizant of it than you are somebody who's in a car flicking cigarette butts out the window, because, boy, you get one of those in the shin one time at 60 miles an hour, and that's a wake-up call,
Oh, yeah. No, when a rock gets kicked up or something like that, that's why I wear heavy jeans. I have jeans that are made of Kevlar.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I don't. I was riding behind a truck that was carrying wheat, wearing shorts one time, and I literally had 30 or 40 grains of wheat stuck in my shin because there was wheat, and then I never, I should have worn jeans, I understand, but it was San Diego and I was young and foolish. But again, it's little things like this that do connect you to that environment, and that, I think that am I going too far if I say maybe that makes you a little more responsible about what you're doing if you're aware of it?
You definitely are. You think more about other drivers. You think about what are they planning to do, what are they trying to do. You're really aware of everything because anything that happens to you will affect you in a big way. If you have an accident, it is a much bigger deal on a motorcycle than in a car. So you are really particularly aware of other drivers, other animals that might skitter across the road or whatever. But yeah, you're just really watching out for everything, and you have to. And part of it is enjoying it, and part of it
Absolutely.
is safely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think as much as I love road trips, and I do, I love road trips in my car. It's so much better on the bike.
Yeah.
So speaking of road trips, Ben, how did you get into these long road trips? Where did that come from? Were you doing it before? Was it just something that you were going with the range that you had in the bike at the time, and you just kept pressing yourself to beat your own record? Where did this come from?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking it. Basically, in 2012, right, Zero comes out with a 2012 Zero S, and now you can go 100 miles on one charge. So as soon as that came out, I thought like, hey, let's try to go cross country, and then Terry Hirschner beat me. And Terry Hirschner is very well known in electric motorcycle circles. He's gone cross country and he has some world records to his name, but he has like 75,000 miles on his bike because he just keeps riding, and he's also helping a lot in the development of this new supercharger. But anyway, 6 months before I can even get off for summer, he goes cross country, right? And he does that, and so I was like, all right, well, there's no point in doing that. But then in the springtime, I get this phone call from this woman, Susan Jones, and she calls me and says, hey, do you want to go cross country? I'm getting a group together, all driving electric vehicles, and I'm going to pay for the hotel rooms. So I thought, okay, that's easy. Yes, I'll do it. Absolutely. And that was the Ride the Future tour, and the movie Kick Gas follows us through that whole thing. And so we just went. Now we had a Nissan Leaf, my Zero S electric motorcycle. We had a guy on an A2B electric bicycle, and we had some electric scooters. And so we had all these different electric vehicles.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. The scooters and the bicycle had a top speed of like 20 to 30 miles an hour. So we could only do like 100 miles a day, which for me was easy. On the motorcycle and the Leaf, we had a piece of cake. So so we did that. There you go. That's actually us at Nissan headquarters, and this is the crew. I'm on the right. Dwayne, who's in the Leaf, he's the guy who drove it. Susan Jones is second from the left, and then her daughter is on the scooter right there. The guy who rode the bicycle is the guy squatting down by the car, Ben Hopkins. He was awesome. He was my roommate almost the entire time, and you know, I was the first one to get in because I was on the motorcycle, and he was the last one to get in because he was on the bicycle. And he would just come in, and you know, I'd ask how his day was, and he'd just say, "Ugh," and then he'd
I guess so.
Yeah,
That's hard.
but he did it. He had 44 straight days of bicycling about 100 miles a day, and he did it.
Oh,
Wow.
4 centuries in a row.
Yeah. So what was that route for that run? What did it go from where to where?
That was Charleston to LA up to Google headquarters. And we like avoided all the good stuff. We avoided all the mountains.
Right.
You know, for the bicycle, for the scooters, and we stayed off highways. You know, that summer I went across the country at 45 miles an hour, basically.
Wow.
But I got to do almost all of Route 66.
Oh, that's cool.
So I got to see. I got to see the Museum of Barbed Wire.
Well, of course.
Oh, I am so
Can't miss
jealous.
that.
I've been meaning to get there.
Well, you'll have to go a long way from civilization to get there.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of Texas, but the loveliest of old ladies was waiting for anyone to come in, and I went in there, and there are over 2,000 kinds of barbed wire, my friend.
Wow.
So I think you have a big barbed wire collection, Ben. Would you like to come out now as a barbed wire collector?
It was stunning. So I mean, I also saw, you know, those what is it? Who is the lumberjack? The legendary
Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan?
Paul Bunyan. You know those Paul Bunyan statues?
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah.
And I saw the one where he was carrying the Gemini space shuttle
Oh, nice.
or spaceship. I saw like 4 of them. They're all over the place. But on Route 66, it is such a blast. It is so fun to go on. And here's another thing. Like, I'm a huge fan now of traveling slow. And what I mean by that is staying off the interstate and stopping by little towns and taking your time going across the country, because you meet the most interesting people and you see all these weird things like along Route 66, but like the people are just super friendly and welcoming, and they're excited to see someone who's not from their town. And a lot of the towns along Route 66 that are getting bypassed by I-10, they still have some really interesting things to see, but they're just so lovely. And being an electric vehicle, having to charge so often, I end up stopping at a lot more places than I would in a car, and it's a whole different experience, and I highly recommend it.
That's actually a sort of a closet lottery dream of mine. As soon as I win the lottery, well, let me back up. As soon as I start playing the lottery, and then I win the lottery.
Subsequently win the lottery.
Then, yeah. I figure I only have to play it once. I'll get around to it. My dream, it's all that big question. What would you do if you won the lottery? I would buy an RV, or maybe not, and just do like you said. I would just drive into these small towns and just, enjoy Americana for what it is.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And cruising along at 45. For me, like, my motorcycle is not a cruiser, so I don't have a big windscreen blocking the wind from me, so it's more comfortable for me to ride at about 45 to 50 miles an hour. So as I'm cruising along there and I look to the side and I see these cars going by and these Mack trucks going at 70 and 80 miles an hour, that doesn't look like a place where I just want to be. So I really enjoy just cruising along a little more slowly. And you end up on roads like that one that you're showing right there, where you can see so far, and there's farms and stuff, but
It's
not too
gorgeous.
much. But yeah, if you stop by a small town, that's where the action's at. Small towns.
Right. Well, again, it's being more in touch with your environment. It's just, hey, look, they're selling homemade root beer here. You know what I mean? Like, homemade root beer. Well, let's go find out. Because we can stop, because we're not going 700 miles an hour, and we don't have to wait for the next exit. All you have to do is stop.
Yeah. Don't set a goal of covering 700 miles in a day. Set a goal of experiencing the 400 that you actually travel.
Yeah. No, that was my mistake. The one mistake I made when we did our round the country drive, we did 8,000 miles in 27 days.
Oh, wow.
And it was just too much. We missed too much. We saw amazing things and wonderful stuff, but it was all interstate, and it was. I know that there are a lot of layers there that I still haven't even touched.
Yeah. No, that's a brutal schedule too.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I can tell you a little more about my schedule.
Sure.
Because, kind of circling back to planning, one of the ways that I set up my schedule is to stop by houses of friends that I know. And actually, most of my friends are from swing dancing. I'm a semi-professional swing dancer, and I've been traveling around and swing dancing for, oh my gosh, more than 15 years, almost 20 years now. So I've been doing this.
So Ben, the map that's up now, this is your future trip that starts in 8 days?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So for example, like, I start in New York City, and my first stop is Cleveland. And not a lot of people have that as a major destination, but to me, that's a huge stop, because when I lived in Pittsburgh for a few years, Cleveland had a bigger swing dance scene. So I ended up making a lot of really wonderful friends in Cleveland. So I'm going to spend a weekend in Cleveland first, and then I'm going to visit family in Chicago, and other swing dancing friends in Minneapolis, and then cruise through that Fargo, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska part. And then in Denver, I've got friends from childhood. But then, a lot of the other stops where I'm going, I'm staying with friends from swing dancing, and that keeps the cost down quite a bit.
Yeah, and that gets expensive.
Yeah.
Believe me, my budget for that trip was, makes me shudder to think now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just ask this and we'll sort it out. So the thing that you're using for these trips, is it reasonable to say that it's not made for that? That's not really what they're for. And I'm not saying they're not good enough for that. I'm just saying what you're doing is you're taking something that's made for one thing, and you're kind of going, okay, now I'm going to adapt it, and it's going to do this.
Really? Yeah, no, it's made for commuting, and it is freaking amazing at that.
Right.
Everyone who has one loves it because of the reasons we said earlier. It's super smooth. It has a ton of torque. You get a grin on your face every time you go on an entrance ramp to the highway. It's awesome, but that's what it's made for. And the only charging system up till this year for Zeros has just been a 110 plug, which takes several hours to charge. So you just charge it overnight. And in my daily life, that's perfect because I can go from my house in New Jersey to Brooklyn to Queens, back to my house, and that's about 60 to 70 miles. Not even think twice about range. It's no big deal. So it's really wonderful for commuting. It's not designed for long-distance riding, but the only part of it that's not designed for long-distance riding is the charger. That's it. Electric motors are bomb-proof. Everything else is rock solid and is super waterproof. I've ridden through rainstorms before, and man, those big raindrops like that, like the size of your thumb, hitting you while you're riding a motorcycle hurts, and you really feel it. So it's fine to do it. The only thing to really improve, or the most important thing to improve, is the charging. And now with this DigiNow supercharger, I think we are really, really close to having a road trip worthy machine for other people. I'm okay sitting around waiting for an hour or so to charge, but not everyone wants to do that. But now I'll have to wait less than an hour. That's pretty good.
Well, I'm sorry, Tony.
I was going to say just real quick, I thought for sure you were going to say the only part of the bike that was not made for long distance riding is the seat.
The seat is not great for long distances, but it's actually not too bad.
Yeah.
Mike Corbin made a new seat for Zero motorcycles, and it just came out. And I got one of those, and it's a little bit flatter, and so that's going to be nice for road trips.
Yeah. I had a custom Corbin saddle of my Honda.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and I mean, yeah, they're great seats. Good stuff. Yeah, it's not that bad. It's actually not that uncomfortable. I mean, it's hard unless you get one of those silly kind of big, huge bikes that really is a car without a roof. A motorcycle isn't the best thing in the world to travel 5 or 6 hours on. But you know what? Neither is a car. You know what I mean? It's you're sitting and you're more comfortable, relatively speaking. But anyway, I want to go back to and I wasn't trying to invalidate what you're doing. I guess what I'm saying is it's the interesting part is that you've gotten a device that's made for one thing, essentially made for one thing. And Zero started out making fairly low-range dirt bikes, really, really fun, cool dirt bikes. I mean, that was their core business the first couple of years, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
They started out with only dirt bikes because you don't have to go street legal, so there are a lot fewer hoops to jump through, and they made some pretty cool dirt bikes, and then they just keep making the range farther, and they got street legal, and they've grown. This is actually their 10-year anniversary. Come to think of it,
it is.
They've been around for 10 years.
So why Zero and not Bramo, or excuse me, Victory?
Yes. Well, the Zero had a more affordable bike and
They do.
they I've been on a Bramo, and it's a good bike, but can I be honest with you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Craig Pramscher will punch me in the face, but yeah, I'm cool with it.
No, well, the thing is, like, I love the look of their bike.
Yeah.
I like their bike. I hack that it has gears. I think that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
And we've had several arguments online, like on the electric motorcycle forum, about putting gears on an electric vehicle. And what? Just what are you doing? So that's really the only thing. I hope that Victory will convince the one main engineer from Bramo who has moved over to Victory. He's a great guy, and I've talked to him on the forum. I like him a lot. As a person, I like him so much, but he is dead set on keeping gears, and I wish he would just change that one thing, because once they do that, I think that will help them quite a bit. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Victory does with the M-Pulse. Everyone has been wanting a cruiser electric motorcycle, but even if it doesn't go long distances. And also a lot of people need a lower seat height than Zero currently produces, so there's an opening there. But if they could make a lower seat height cruiser with no gears, people would be all over that.
Huge.
Yeah, and that would be right in Victory's wheelhouse, because they are a cruiser company. The M-Pulse looks kind of weird in their lineup because it's more of a sport bike. So.
I had an interesting experience at the Victory dealer, which I talked about on a former show, and I won't do that this time. And I'm totally this entire conversation. So, Mark, I'm going to put the pressure on you. Anything? Do you want to?
I just when you did your 3-country tour, and you were traveling to Mexico, you went from New Jersey to the south, and then you came back to the north and went, I believe, Montreal area. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what was it that someone else had started to do that, or what made you do the 3-country tour?
So I'm a really competitive person, and Terry Hirschner has beaten me to a lot of things, and so he did a BC to BC ride, but they didn't actually officially go into Mexico. They got to the wall, but they didn't actually enter officially. And so this was, I had 2 reasons to do this. One was to beat Terry and be the first one to go into Mexico officially, pass through customs and all that, and then also go into Canada and pass through customs. And I was in Montreal for a few days and did some dancing and met some friends. It was awesome. So that was one reason, but another reason was to promote electric vehicles. I love electric vehicles. I want to see more of them. I want to see electric motorcycles gain more notoriety. And if you can't really get a lot of press unless you have a catchy title. And so doing a 3-country tour, that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people have done cross-country trips, and I've done a cross-country trip. It was great. But doing that again is good, but not really a new thing. But doing a 3-country tour, that's kind of a new twist on an old theme, and that got a lot of people's attention.
Yeah. Actually, I saw, that's where I first came in contact with you. I saw it, I believe it was through Inside EVs, did a little story about your trek, and would post some of the videos that you were putting up.
Yeah.
But one of the questions I had for you is, when you went into Mexico, it looked like it was kind of sketchy. Can you describe your time in Mexico?
It'll be brief, because my time in Mexico was brief. So in 2011, the State Department issued a warning saying, do not go into any border town in Mexico because of the cartel wars. They aren't targeting tourists. They aren't, it's not that you're specifically in danger. It's just that a gunfight might break out, and you might be near it. So they don't allow unofficial business to go into Mexico. So what this has done is it's killed any restaurant business or anything like that. So my goal, like going to Mexico, I was going to go in, I was going to get a taco and a beer, right? A cerveza in that case. And I talked to some locals in the American side, and they said, do not eat any food there.
Oh, that's so not right.
You know, and so and all my friends who went to college in Texas and used to go to border towns said they would not go to a border town now. You know, so they're all saying like, do not go. And for a while during my ride, I was thinking, wow, I might bail on that part because everyone is saying it's so dangerous. But I was going to be there at 2 in the afternoon. So when I got there, I was just like, I'm going over. It was fine. It was just a regular town. It was fine. So I just cruised around the town a little bit, and I was kind of on a schedule because I had friends in San Antonio I wanted to get back to. So I didn't end up spending a lot of time there, but I just cruised around the town for a little bit, got some video, and then I took off.
Did you charge in Mexico?
No, I didn't charge in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't have the converter for the electrons.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Spanish to English.
Well, he got through to Montreal. He was able to figure out metrics, so they worked there.
And excuse my protest, Ben, but I mean, I grew up in San Diego, so we used to go to Mexico all the time for food. Now, that's not Texas, and that's not Texas when you were there. Totally different thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it probably would have been okay, but I did not have time for probably.
Right.
Like I didn't schedule in Montezuma's Revenge for 3 days.
Yeah. The last thing you want to have when you're on a bike.
Yeah. No, that was not going to work.
Yeah, that's not pretty.
Yeah, that whole story sounds a lot like the last trip I took into Chicago Southside.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, don't do it, you know, gang wars and, you know, crossfire and, you know, but I'm just getting a beer. It's like, no, the Sox are playing. You don't want to go anywhere near that.
Yeah.
Well,
so, I had one last question for you, Ben, or at least from me. So, you know, Russell was kind of comparing, I guess, in a loose way, cross-country driving in a car and then riding on your bike. I know that when I'm driving, I can pack whatever the hell I want, throw it in the back of the car, off I go. Do you just wear the same clothes every day? So, I mean, you know, without getting like too detailed, you know, I'm assuming. Well, I shouldn't assume. Do you have a chase vehicle? Do you just do a lot of laundry at your friend's house? You know, houses, or you know, what do you do? Backpack or what?
Yeah, I wear. Well, I stay with friends, so I'm not tenting or camping or anything. So I'm always in a civilized location. Civilized is a loose term, but basically, I do end up wearing the same few clothes over and over again. I just make sure that I'm super clean, and so you know I don't want to stink as I'm riding along. But there's minimal space, and some of that space is taken up with charging wires, NEMA 1450 to J1772 adapters. You know, there's and also a small repair kit for my motorcycles, so I can adjust any screws that get loose. So there's not much space, and I just pack a very small amount of clothes, and you know, I try to do laundry any chance I'm at a friend's house. I'll just throw in some clothes and you know, hope for the best.
So just my final question is, I brought up a picture of the bike. Russell, if you could share it. You've got this contraption on the back where a saddlebag would typically be. What is this, Ben?
That's one of the Elcon chargers. So that's one of the Elcon 2.5 kilowatt chargers, and there's another one on the other side.
Okay.
So that's what allows me to charge up at 6 kilowatts. Now this year I'm going to have a similar sized object, but it'll either be in the top case or on the passenger seat or something like that.
Okay, and this is your bike. That is it going to be? You've got this storage compartment on the back. I take it that'll be with you this year as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I will have some storage on the sides this year too, because I won't have 2 of those.
Right.
I have a little more there. Yeah.
One extra pair of underwear.
Fortunately, underwear is pretty small, so I can pack a few more pairs of that. But yeah, I have like 3 shirts and that's it.
Right.
I thought for sure, Ben, you were going to say, "Oh, way ahead of you, Russell."
And Russell, you can take me off the share now.
Oh, did I? But no, you know what? I like leaving you on there.
Well, just okay, fine.
You're so much better looking than I am. I don't. Tony, any final shots?
No, I'm fascinated by the whole thing, and definitely gonna follow you on Facebook. And if I get the chance to get to anywhere near where you are when you're swinging through Chicago, I definitely want to find out where you're charging and have lunch.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to be there at night. That's one of my destinations because I'm staying with a cousin of mine. But yeah, my information's online. You can contact me through the Ben Rich Electric Biker page, and I'm happy to meet up with people. In some cities, I think I may try to just put out an APB and say, here's where I'm charging or whatever for a little while if you want to meet up. But I definitely want to meet people across the country who drive electric vehicles or who are bikers who are interested in seeing a Zero. I talk to Harley guys all the time. I talk to BMW guys who are on these road trips, and they're all really interested. And there's a huge difference between talking to someone with the motorcycle right there versus online. When you're talking online, people are like, oh, it's electric, it's wimpy, it's this, it's that, and they have no idea what they're talking about. But once they see it in person, everyone, even the people who online tend to be haters, but when it's in person right in front of them, they tend to be really interested in it. And so it's a lot of fun being one of the main people who is bringing the bike out there to show to people, so it just becomes more real for them. So I've met some really amazing people. Couple of bikers on the Blue Ridge Parkway who are part of the Christian Biker Association. Shout out to them. They were super friendly. It was great talking to them. At the Tail of the Dragon in North Carolina, I talked to some Harley guys there for like an hour. They were just peppering me with questions about it, and it was great. We had a great conversation there. So. And also riding with other people who are electric bikers is awesome because you don't have the fumes coming out into your face. So when I'm following like a Bramo or something like that, I've gone riding with a couple of people who have Bramos or Zeros. It's just the best because there's no noise, there's no fumes coming into your face, you're breathing clean air, and it's awesome. It's really awesome.
There you go. Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show this week.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll maybe after the tour, you want to come back on?
Absolutely, yeah.
We didn't scare you off or offend you or anything?
Not yet. No, I'll come back and.
There's like 5 more minutes yet, so give us don't.
It could go off the rails at any second. Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I actually have a ton of like wacky charging stories.
Oh, dude.
So I can share at least a couple of those, and I'm sure there will be more.
Do you want to share one with us now?
Just give us your wackiest charging story. The
So
one that sticks out in your head the most.
One is kind of a negative one, and one is a positive one. Okay, so the negative one is I pulled up to this Nissan dealership, and I've gone to Nissan dealers all over the country, and most of the time they're wonderful. I love Nissan dealers, believe me. And this one, I plugged in. And I only needed like 2 kilowatt hours of electricity, so like literally 20 to 30 cents worth of electricity. And I go in there, I plug in, and someone pokes their head out. They go back in. They poke their head out again, and this large man comes out, and he's just like, we need to charge you money to charge your bike there. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm happy to pay. Like normally my charge costs $1.50, so I'm like, oh, sure, I'll give you a couple bucks. They're like $10.
Somebody wanted you to buy them lunch.
And I was like, $10 for 20 cents worth of electricity? And there were not any other chargers anywhere nearby. I ended up having to pay the $10. And this was in Ohio, Mansfield, Ohio or something. Anyway, that sucked. The good one is along the Blue Ridge Parkway, I stopped by a RV park, and a lot of times I don't have time to call ahead, so I just stopped there, went into the main office, said, "Hey, you have a spare a spare 50 amp connection that I can use?" and they said, we would love to help you out, but all of our 50 amp connections are taken. So the lady at the desk said, well, listen, why don't you go up and ask this one woman and see if she'll let you charge on her 50 amp connection that she's currently using. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I might be out of luck here. Like this is a new experience for me. So one of the workers brought me up to this lady's RV, which was plugged in, knocked on the door, and she came out, and we talked a little bit. And after about 5 to 10 minutes, she said, sure, I'll unplug the RV. My granddaughter is sleeping inside, so, we've only got like half hour or something. And that was enough. That would get me to my next destination. I had enough charge. So I thanked her profusely, and so we unplugged her RV, we plugged in my bike, and I sat on the porch and chatted with her. And we chatted for like half an hour, 35 minutes. And we had the most lovely conversation. Two perfect strangers who were kind of thrown together by chance, and we just had the greatest time. And it was fascinating how much of a traveler she was, and she told me about how she loved North Carolina. But the thing that was really touching was that at the end, she said, you know why I unplugged and let you charge here? And I was thinking, this will be interesting, like whatever, not a big deal. She said her brother used to ride motorcycles, and he would have been fascinated by my Zero, but he passed away from cancer like 6 months ago. And so she tells me this, and I'm about to just like start bawling. I was like, wow, that came out of nowhere. And this woman just shared this incredibly emotional memory with me, and so I was just touched. And her kindness and willingness to, unplugging her RV turned off the air conditioning on a 95-degree day. And fortunately, her granddaughter didn't wake up and was still taking a nap, and everything was cool. But like, the reason she let me charge because of her brother who had passed away from cancer was just really an unexpected, emotionally, moving time. So you never know what's going to happen on a trip like this, and sometimes the surprise is really moving. So it was pretty awesome.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Again, that's being in touch with your environment.
Yeah. That's our theme for today.
It is. I mean, I think that's a good theme.
Absolutely.
Being able to get from point A to point B and still not losing touch with what's going on around you.
Yeah.
So, Ben, thank you so much for being on the show.
Certainly.
Definitely come back on and tell us charging stories, and then, but please, when you're done with your big trip, which is. Oh my God! When you're ready to sit down again, let's have you on the show, because I know what that's like, and that is an aggressive map.
Yeah, this is a much bigger ride than I had really anticipated, but I really wanted to get to Seattle, and then I have friends in California, and then I have family in Florida, so it all just kind of like ended up being circumnavigating the U.S.
Yeah.
But hey, it's an adventure. I'm up for it. I can't wait.
Yeah. Good luck.
What's the amount of time you're planning on traveling?
June 16th through August 9th, approximately.
Wow. So almost a month on the road.
A month and a half to almost 2 months, yeah.
Jeez.
On an electric bike, not in a car.
Yeah.
That's the aggressive part.
No rain the whole time. No rain.
Yeah.
Right.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. No hail. I think is what you're really thinking, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So we want to make sure that all of our listeners, everyone goes, and I know we'll probably come around to this, but definitely go to Ben Rich, Electric Biker, and like the page and stay up to date on the updates.
Absolutely. Facebook.com/BenRidesElectric. Let's do our shout-outs and go home, gentlemen. I think we've accomplished a fine show this evening. Despite all of our hard work, Ben has kept us on topic in a somewhat positive vein, which, frankly, is a little odd for me. I don't feel like I've gotten to be nearly sarcastic enough, but, it's a subject close to my heart. So, Mark.
Just a shout-out to the Waterloo Regional Volt Tech Group. And if you want to learn all things Volt, please look up our Facebook and Twitter page at WR Voltec.
One of my favorite Twitter follows. Thank you, Mark. And by the way, the whole reason Ben is here is because of Mark's hard work. So thank you, Mark, for bringing Ben to the show. That was fantastic. Great idea. Speaking of great ideas, Tony Schaefer.
I just want to remind everyone, of course, Facebook.com/WhatDrivesUs. Ask us questions. Ask questions. This podcast will be posted on the page. So if you think of questions that you want Ben to answer, or something, then post it there. We'll make a note. We'll write it on the back of an envelope. We'll set it aside. In a few months, when we see him again, we'll make sure and ask them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea, Tony. Okay, Ben, here's your chance. Plug whatever you like, sir.
Thanks. Well, obviously Zero Motorcycles, amazing motorcycle company. They make an awesome bike. If you're a biker and you haven't test ridden one, go test ride one, because I cannot explain to you what it's like. But test riding it, that's the only way to really experience it. Hollywood Electrics in LA is one of the best places to get a Zero. They are the ones who made the charging system that those of us who go long distances have made. DigiNow, it has made the new charger, and I'm super excited to test it on this trip and really put it through the ringer. And let's see. Rockwell Cycles is the local motorcycle shop here near New York City. They're up near Bear Mountain, and they're awesome. They're really awesome, really friendly. It's run by a family, and Nick Rockwell, the main guy there, he has a racing background. He has helped me out a ton with prepping my bike for this trip. So those are the people who I am super grateful for that make this possible. Because I do solo road trips, but you're not alone. You've got other people helping you out all the way. So very excited about that. So thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All things I follow. So let me run through a few of the usual things. As always, we want to thank Michael Mannering for our amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Visit us at whatdrives.us, where you can download or stream the show in audio or video format. Of course, you can get it on your favorite podcatcher too, whether that's Stitcher or Slacker or something else that ends in ER, or that old funky thing that us old folks use called iTunes. We're also available on Google Play, thanks to our friend Patrick Connor. Let's see what else. Hollywood Electrics, a hugely cool site. They run monthly rides for EV bikes, for electric bikes. Facebook.com/Hollywood Electrics. Once again, Ben's site is Facebook.com/Ben Rides Electric. And as he said, and as I've been, Zero Motorcycles. They're at zeromotorcycles.com. They are, I'm not going to open a discussion as I'm doing the credits, but really, there's the Victory, the Bramo Victory, and that's it. I mean, there's some really off-brand weird stuff, but there's nobody else doing this. Which shame on all of the huge motorcycle companies that could do this and don't. And all the more reason why we should support Zero. Based in Santa Cruz, built in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, they're made in Santa Cruz, so it's an American company making American motorcycles. So
absolutely, making state-of-the-art American motorcycles that nobody else is making. I mean, you can buy $60,000 designer motorcycles that are electric, built in the UK or built in Italy or something like this. But I mean, like a real person motorcycle, Zero is it. So. Check out their website. I so recommend, as I said last month, take a test ride. If you if you're a motorcyclist and you haven't driven an electric bike, get ready to throw the keys away to your gas bike. Go ride a Zero. They're amazing. Mark Coughlin, Tony Schaefer, Ben Rich, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ben, for coming on.
My pleasure.
Absolutely, Ben. The very best of luck on your ride. I hope it's fantastic. I hope you don't follow any wheat trucks. I hope you don't hit any bumblebees. No rain. Stay out of Texas. No.
Texas is a necessary evil, and I do have a bumblebee story, but I'll save that for next time.
Yeah, I have one too. It's not good. So until next week, download. I already screwed up the ending. Download us next week and find out what drives us. Where did you go?
Command Ring's hiding.
Yeah. No theme music.
Stop.
Oh.
188 shows and my theme music craps out.
Whose turn to sing?
It's the guest's responsibility.
That's it.
Didn't you get that?
Come on. Oh, what? Ay.
Oh boy.
You know what? I'm so angry. I'm gonna stick with this until it goes. There we go. Until next week, we'll see you. WhatDrives.us. Thanks again, Ben Rich.
Thank you.
Have fun, kids.